It's a beautiful Friday morning here live from AYOGEN online television. I am Makojola Aluatosin, bringing your breakfast news right to you. Here are the headlines. Ifeanyi Ubah wants Namdi Kanu arrest detention revisited. Using school as military bases, worsening attacks, says the federal government. On our political news this morning, court stops PDP from sacking National Vice Chairman Obi. Aregbesol's loyalists go for broke to elect parallel exco. On our business news this morning, lifting 100 million Nigerians from poverty, ambitious, says the World Bank economist. Nigeria must return to Euro bond market for $2.1 billion borrowing. On our sport news this morning, Pedro agrees new Barcelona contract with €1 billion release clause. On our health news this morning, Namdi arrests suspect over fake injection water in Zamfara. Foreign news this morning, 2 dead, 2 injured in random bow and arrow attack in Norway. On entertainment news, which is the last on our breakfast news this morning, our fans should approach me in public, says actor Deyemi Okanlawon. So the full details coming up next. Ifeanyi Ubah wants Namdi Kanu's arrest detention revisited. The lawmaker representing Anambra South Senatorial District, Ifeanyi Ubah, has called on the federal government to revisit the issue of the arrest and detention of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Namdi Kanu. Ubah made the call in Lagos according to a statement by his media aide, Carmen Ogbonna, issued in Abuja on Thursday. The statement is titled, Senator Ubah calls on federal government to review arrest, detention of Mazi Namdi Kanu. The senator, who is contesting the November 6 governorship election in Anambra State, specifically urged the federal government to critically examine issues surrounding the arrest and detention of Kanu. Ubah, the statement added, made the call during a stakeholders meeting in Lagos as part of his sensitization and engagement with Anambra indigents in the state. He said Ubah's team had robust discussions and exchange of ideas on various issues surrounding Southeast development. Part of the statement read, in the course of the conversation, some youth leaders used the opportunity to express their sadness to the senator over the region issue of Mazi Namdi Kanu's detention and pleaded with Ubah to intervene in the matter. The senator, in his response, assured them that there are ongoing efforts behind the scene to find a political solution to the problem. He also promised to relay their message to the federal government with regards to the need to review the case and to treat the issue as vital, especially since some opposition party players in Anambra State and trigger voter apathy in the process as a cover for writing results illegally. It is our firm belief that this burning issue should not in any way be politicized, but rather should be given the due attention that it requires. We strongly believe that the federal government finds a political solution to the Namdi Kanu issue. The present insecurity in Anambra State will come to an abrupt end as the politically sponsored bandits killing people under these guise will have no further excuse at their disposal. Using school as military bases worsening attacks, says the federal government. The Minister of Education, Adamu, on Thursday said the use of schools for shelter by security agencies had made schools vulnerable to attacks by non-state actors. This is just as the military recommends self-defense training for students who are the biggest victims of banditry and kidnapping. The minister was represented by the Director of Education Support Service, Gina Ifeanyiwa, spoke at the pre-conference briefing of the 4th International Conference on Safe Schools Declaration and launch of the SSD security manuals. The event was organized by the Ministry of Defense with the theme, Making Committees a Reality, towards the Abuja conference. He said the Nigerian education system has been experiencing insecurity and violence such as kidnapping, abduction, maiming, and killing of children and teachers, amongst others. The use of schools for sheltering purpose, especially by the security forces, has also made schools vulnerable to attacks by non-state armed groups. The insurgency and banditry issues in Northeast and Northwest, respectively, have created fears and worries among parents and children. Most parents are now reluctant to release their children to attend school. On the other hand, the children are also traumatized due to the school attacks and are refusing to go to schools for fear of being killed or abducted. The Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, said the education sector had been one of the worst hit since Boko Haram began launching attacks in the country. He promised that the armed forces would ensure a peaceful learning environment. The impact of criminality on education in Nigeria is very huge, considering that without a secure environment, parents will be unwilling to send their children to schools. The ideology of Boko Haram is centered on the abolition of Western education. To this end, the education sector remains one of the worst hit areas since 2009. The armed forces of Nigeria will continue to fulfill our constitutionally conducive for education and other socio-economic activities to thrive in the country. Offering solutions on how to end the scourge, the Commandant National Defense College, Rear Admiral Oladele Daji, said there was a need for students to be given self-defense training. Deji added, I have proposed the activation of a national emergency response plan, and this plan will provide a step-by-step action guide to be taken in the event of an emergency in any of our schools. The plan should also include self-defense and personal safety drills for pupils and children in our schools. On our political news this morning, court stops Edo PDP from sacking National Vice Chairman Obi. Justice O.A. Adeniyi of a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has restrained the People's Democratic Party from removing the South-South National Vice Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Dan Obi, from the office. The court made the following order: a motion ex parte moved by his counsel, Chief Godwin Obla San. Obi, in the ex parte motion and an accompanying affidavit deposed to by one Ode Ahoyi, prayed the court for the order of interim injunction restraining the defendant stroke respondent at any level by itself, its servants, agents, officers, and others howsoever described, from giving effect to recognizing of the resolution of October 7, confirmation or ratification of the resolution 2021 by an enlarged meeting of the party elders and or party working committee, suspending the applicant from the party or acting upon the so-called applicant, resolution of the self-acclaimed stakeholders of Edo State chapter of the respondent PDP, which purported to suspend the claimant stroke applicant in defiance of the provision of Article 571 to 7 of the Constitution of the defendant stroke respondent pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. Justice Adeniyi, in an enrollment order obtained by journalists on Thursday, held that upon listening to M. Oyinloku, ESQ counsel for the applicant moving in terms of the motion paper, it is hereby accordingly in an interim order of injunction is hereby made restraining its defendant at any level of its organs or its servants, agents, officers, or howsoever described from giving effect to, recognizing or acting upon the resolution of a group calling itself Edo North Leaders stakeholders of the defendants made on October 7, 2021, purporting to suspend the applicants from the party, and which resolution was purportedly ratified by the Edo chapter of the defendant without due consideration of the provisions of Article 557(1)(7) of the Constitution of the defendants pending the hearing of and determination of the motion on notice. Recall that some PDP leaders had on Monday ratified the suspension of Obi. Aregbesol's loyalists go for break to elect parallel exco. A former special assistant to ex-Osun governor, supporter of the All Progressive Congress, under the aegis of the Osun Progressives Congress, would hold a parallel Congress to elect new state executives for the All Progressive Congress. Tajuddin issued the threat in an interview at the venue of the weekly meeting of TOP, a faction within the Osun State chapter of the APC, which enjoys Aregbesol's support. He said, we are preparing like we did during the World and Local Government Congress. Both sides will hold the Congress. The other faction of the party is not talking to us to harmonize yet. Meanwhile, the chairman of TOP, Adelowo Adebigi, has urged all delegates in the Saturday State Congress of the party to turn out en masse to elect new state officers for the APC. Adebiyi, in a statement in Osogbo, said it is only the election of new set of focused and result-oriented leaders to complement those they have elected at the world and local levels that could take the APC back from the path of ineptitude it has been driven to due to recent times. On our business news this morning, lifting 100 million Nigerians from poverty ambitious, says the World Bank economist. The World Bank lead economist in the Middle East and North Africa's region's Poverty Reduction and Economic Management Group, Tara Vishwante, has described the goal of the Nigerian president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years as ambitious. Vishwante said this during a virtual World Bank media discussion on COVID-19 and jobs in Nigeria on Thursday in response to a question by a journalist. She stated that it was a very ambitious goal which could only be feasible in certain swift policies were put in place to provide opportunities in the labor market and boost investors' confidence. She said, "My short answer is that it is an ambitious goal. It is an ambitious goal, but over a decade, many things can happen." She added that while it was good to be ambitious, the policy environment and the opportunities in the labor market were crucial. Nigeria must return to Eurobond market for $2.1 billion borrowing. The federal government is considering a return to the Eurobonds market for the balance of its $6.1 billion external borrowing after it successfully raised $4 billion in September. The Director General of the Debt Management Office, Mrs. Patience Oniha, gave the hint during an interview in London obtained by a correspondent on Thursday. Oniha said international investors had shown interest in engaging the government after a global investors meeting and roadshow, as they were still optimistic about the country's credit status. She said one of the questions that kept coming up was the balance of the new external borrowing for 2021, which is about $6.1 billion. We are going to have a meeting with our transaction parties after this engagement if we will come back to the market for the balance. We need to assess the market to understand how to proceed. We remain confident international investors find our credit story enticing enough. The Director General of the Budget Office, Ben Akubueze, in a separate interview, said true investors were concerned about debt sustainability. The federal government had given an assurance on that. He said the major concern is the debt service to revenue ratio, and we are working around improving the revenue generation. Akwabueze added that federal government's ambition was to raise tax revenue to GDP ratio from 9% of GDP to 15% by 2025. On our sport news, Pedri agrees new Barcelona contract with €1 billion release clause. Barcelona teenager Pedri has agreed a long-term contract extension with the financially stricken club. The 18-year Spain international, who was named in the Euro 2020 team of the tournament, will remain at the Nou Camp until 2026. Pedri, who had been linked with Liverpool, joined Barcelona from Las Palmas in August 2020 and quickly established himself as a starter in midfield. He played 53 times last season, the most experience of anyone in the club. His new deal is a rare piece of good news as Barcelona continue to struggle on and off the pitch. They sit ninth in La Liga and have lost their opening 2 Champions League games. Lionel Messi was forced to leave the club during the summer as they were unable to afford his new contract, while experienced players such as Gerard Piqué and Jordi Alba agreed to salary reductions to allow Ronald Koeman's side to register their new signings. President Joan Laporta laid bare their financial issues back in August, saying Barcelona has a negative net worth of €451 million. It is a terrible inheritance. What has been happening is very worrying. The situation is dramatic, but we have good news. The strategic plan based on our credibility and experience on the assets that Barca have makes the situation temporary. I think that in a couple of years, the club's economy will be healthy. Sky Sports. On our health news, Namdi arrests suspect over fake injection water in Zamfara. The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control says it has arrested one Mr. Obinna Chigbo for producing fake injection water in Gusau, Zamfara. The NABDAC coordinator in the state, Mr. Amis Yahaya, disclosed this while addressing newsmen in Gusau on Thursday. Yahaya said the suspect was arrested on Monday in a one-bedroom apartment at Yahaya of Tandunwa area in Gusau Metropolis. The suspect was producing untreated borehole water without any form of sedimentation, filtration, among others, he said. We confiscated 8 bags of the fake product, each of the bags containing 100 packages of the product it sells, each package for 500 naira. The product is valued 400,000 naira. We also seized a local electric stove he used for sealing the product. Yahaya said that NAFDAC will refer the suspect to its investigation and enforcement unit to prosecute him with all the exhibits recovered from him. We are embarking on massive surveillance with a view to mopping the illegal products he found in circulation. We intend to reach out to the State Ministry of Health so that they can also reach out to their doctors in order to stop its circulation, he added. He called on the people of the state to be vigilant, saying, if you see something, say something. If you see any notorious person, including producing illegal products in your area, you report to the appropriate authorities. As members of the general public, you don't keep quiet on issues affecting your lives, he advised them. The suspect, while speaking to newsmen, said he joined the illegal business to earn a living. I regretted joining the business. I joined it not because I am happy, but to take care of my family. I have been producing and selling the products for the past 4 years. I used to go to Dansadua, Magami, and Talata Mafara to sell the product, the suspect said. On a foreign news, 5 dead, 2 injured in random bow and arrow attack in Norway. The suspect was taken into custody by the police. 5 people were killed and 2 others injured in an apparently random attack in Kongsberg, Norway, late Wednesday as a man roamed the city shooting people with a bow and arrow. Authorities said the man was taken into custody in the city center and is currently being held in the neighbor city of Drammen. Police are not searching for any other suspect based on the information we have at the present time. The apprehended man has acted alone. We will also have to look at whether this is an act of terror or not. The city's assistant chief of police said in a statement the suspect has not yet been questioned by the police, and it is therefore too early to say anything about his motivation for his actions. The suspect was identified as a 37-year-old man who lived in Kongsberg, but he is a Danish citizen. He has been charged in the crime, police said. Kongsberg is located about an hour southwest of Oslo. Police said the man was spotted walking around the city, shooting at random around 6:30 p.m. local time and was taken into custody about 20 minutes later. Photos from the city showed arrows stuck in walls of buildings. One of those who was injured was an off-duty police officer, authorities said. There has been and there's still a major police activity in the area. As I said, the reason for this is that the suspect has moved over a large area, and we are now working on securing evidence and to get as much information about the incident as we can. In a statement, the U.S. State Department, we are aware of today's attack and extend our heartfelt condolences to the victims and their families. How fans should approach me in public, actor Deyemi Okonlawo said in entertainment news. Nollywood actor Deyemi Okonlawo has lectured his fans on how they should approach him in public. The actor said via his Instagram page on Thursday, where he shared a screenshot in which a fan accused him of being a snob. The fan has said, I honestly don't look at any celebrity to greet them or talk to them to avoid unnecessary disdain. I've seen a number of them. I literally always just walk past them even when it feels good to see my favorite. But I greeted at Adeyemi, the actor, one time at Ebony Live Building. I didn't get any response. I just got looked away and felt I shouldn't have honestly did that. In response, Okonlawo stated that the fan got the same energy he gave out, adding that fans should make sure to get his attention whenever they want to approach him. The actor said this was brought to my attention, and while I'm quite okay with leaving people with their opinions, I think if you read these comments again, you may realize that perhaps it's the energy you gave out you got might be responsible for the energy you seem to receive. Me that even on my worst days, I have a smile specially reserved for anyone who recognizes me from my work and deems me worthy to be hailed. Me will never blow, we still dey find helper, na you go dey shame some person. Having said that, I find it worrisome you left an interaction with me feeling somewhat slighted. Meanwhile, to everyone else, I take God beg you, if you won't hail me, please do so with confidence and make sure you have my attention. Make no be say I dey reason my wife bill, children fees, parent allowance, Nollywood wahala, etc. And that will be that on our breakfast news. We'll be right back. Do stay with us. Welcome back. It's still on our breakfast news this morning. Highlight of our breakfast news. On our local news, Ifeanyi Ubah wants Namdi Kanu arrest detention revisited. Using school as military bases worsening attacks, says the federal government. Political news this morning, court stops Edo PDP from sacking National Vice Chairman Obi. Aregbeshola's loyalists go for broke to elect parallel exco. On our business news this morning, lifting 100 million Nigerians from poverty ambitious, says the World Bank economist. Nigeria must return to Eurobond market for $2.1 billion borrowing. On our sport news, Pedro agrees new Barcelona contract with $1 billion euros release clause. On our health news this morning, NAFDAC arrests suspect over fake injection water in Zamfara. 5 dead, 2 injured in random bow and arrow attack in Norway. That's on our foreign news. On our entertainment news this morning, how fans should approach me in public. Actor Deyemi Okanlawon. And that will be that on our breakfast news this morning. Thanks for watching. I want you to continue to subscribe on our YouTube channel, AYOGEN Online Television. Follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram respectively. I remain your host, Makunjola Oluwatosin Esther. Do have a wonderful day.